Well, the time has finally come for Dr. Happy Hour to present at Grand Rounds. For those of you who do not understand my reference to Dr. Chris Wiegand in that manner, let me read an email sent this afternoon to the members of our department. I quote, "Happy Hour this week will be at the Shanty, 4th Avenue and 9th Street, after my Grand Rounds. Pay attention at Grand Rounds for an opportunity to win a free beverage. Chris." It's not only a pleasure to welcome Dr. Chris Wiegand to Grand Rounds, but also a special guest, Stephanie, who I assume is here in a supportive role. Is that right? Okay, good. Dr. Wiegand is a graduate of the Virginia School of Medicine in Charlottesville, Virginia, where he incidentally and not surprisingly was elected to be the class social chair from 1996 through 1999. In his years with us in our program, he has been very busy both within our department and apparently outside our department as well. In addition to attending his residency training requirements, he serves as an instructor for the psychopharmacology seminar for third-year medical students. He is a volunteer facilitator for the first-year medical students work group, and also this year he received the Pfizer Resident Award at the APA annual meeting in Philadelphia. Last year he served as a member of the Internal Review Committee for the Department of Neurology, and also was a member of our department's Child and Adolescent Faculty Selection Committee and a member of our Resident Selection Committee. In 2000, he was the Eli Lilly Fellow at the U.S. Psychiatric and Mental Health Congress. He additionally participated in a psilocybin study with Dr. Moreno for the past 2 years, which, along with his numerous happy hour engagements, I'm sure, has influenced his choice of topics for this afternoon's Grand Rounds. His talk is entitled "The Therapeutic Potential of Psychedelics." Dr. Wiegand.
Thank you, Dr. Mishashek, for that warm welcome. I'm sure Stephanie's thrilled about that, too. I have to attach my microphone. I'm assuming that's good. Okay, so as Dr. Mishashek said, the title of today's talk is Therapeutic Potential of Psychedelics. But I'd like to start out with a picture of Dr. John Mishashek in rare form.
I guess I went a long time without anyone seeking to
I was hoping that you'd be introducing me and not Chelsea. So the next thing I want to do is I want everybody in the auditorium to raise their right hand and to put their right index finger in the air. Everybody do this. In order for it to work, everybody's got to do it. Now with that right index finger, I want you to go to your cell phone or pager and put it on stun vibrate so it does not make a noise and distract me. I hate it when that happens. So today I'm going to go over, first of all, address the topic of what are psychedelics, how do you define the term, what chemicals exactly constitute a psychedelic, what are their pharmacological actions, what is the psychedelic experience like and what does that consist of. And finally, we'll talk a bit about adverse effects of psychedelics. We'll then talk about the history and prehistory of use of some of the major hallucinogens. We'll move on to talk about the clinical trials of the 50s and 60s, the age of psychedelic prohibition, and the more recent clinical trials from the 1990s until the present. And then finally, I'll talk about our own research. From the Greek, it literally means mind manifesting or mind revealing. The Oxford English Dictionary defines psychedelic as producing an expansion of consciousness through greater awareness of the senses and emotional feelings and the revealing of unconscious motivations. Psychedelics go by a variety of other terms as well. The term hallucinogen, psycholytic, psychotomimetic, entheogen, empathogen, and enactogen are also used. Which term you use depends on which one you favor and also how you're using the chemical. A more pharmacological definition of psychedelic is any agent that causes alterations in perception, cognition, and mood as its primary psychobiological action in the presence of an otherwise clear sensorium. The chemical families which constitute psychedelics, there are 5 main families. The tryptamines fall into the bigger family of the indole alkylamines, and the tryptamines include DMT, psilocin, psilocybin, and the active ingredient in bufo toad venom, which is 5-methoxy-DMT. The next family is the ergolines, which includes LSD and its natural and synthetic analogs. The next group is the beta-carbolines, which include harmaline, which is one of the active ingredients in ayahuasca. The phenethylamines include mescaline, which is the active ingredient in peyote. And finally, we have the phenylisopropylamines, which includes DOM, which was popular back in the 60s, also known as STP. Today, we're going to talk about psilocybin, LSD, and mescaline because these are the most widely used psychedelics, and we have the most clinical and research experience with them. I'm not going to talk about MDMA or ecstasy because that is an entire lecture unto itself and would make this lecture go way too long. This slide should give some of you flashbacks to organic chemistry, but what we're looking at here is the chemical structure of serotonin, which is one of the endogenous neurotransmitters. This is the chemical structure of psilocybin, and if you look, it's not hard to see the homology between the two chemicals. If you squint your eyes a little bit, you can look at mescaline and see, the same 6-carbon ring with the branching chain. And if you squint really hard and look at LSD, you can see the homology as well. So all of these drugs that we're talking about are potent agonists at the serotonin 2A, 2C receptors. The initial response after ingestion is that of sympathetic arousal, followed by the actual psychedelic experience. The effects of most of these drugs last anywhere from 4 to 12 hours, with the exception of DMT, which lasts about 30 minutes. 5-methoxy-DMT lasts even shorter, about 10 to 15 minutes for the peak experience. All of these drugs exhibit tolerance and cross-tolerance. There are no withdrawal symptoms, and there's no evidence of physical dependence. There have been no deaths recorded due to the direct physiological effects of these drugs, even in accidental massive overdoses. Also, it's interesting to note that chronic use of some antidepressants, including SSRIs and tricyclics, blunts or reduces the psychedelic effect of these chemicals. So, as I said, the initial somatic reactions, within 10 to 30 minutes post-ingestion include these sympathomimetic signs and symptoms. I won't read those aloud. You can see them there. Also, we notice insomnia with REM rebound the evening after the psychedelic experience. Now, when we talk about the psychedelic experience itself, that experience is the product of a complex interaction